certification or a laboratory report. Then you move on to the field testing, so we carry out the field testing for different governing bodies. We also cover goal line technology. We're a FIFA Accredited Institute for goal line technology testing. And we also cover consultancy, predominantly in artificial turf, but we do dabble in natural turf as well. So Sportslabs is a company. We've been around since 1997. The company was formed from civil engineers, Eric O'Donnell and Richard Nixon. Some of the accreditations we carry you can see on the slide there. Mostly we obviously work with FIFA, but there is World Rugby, athletics tracks, hockey, tennis, etc. And also Gaelic sports have a standard. And sometimes when you go for funding, you have to consider these in your projects as well to get maximum funding. So as a company, where are we? We started out in Edinburgh, but now we're based in Turkey. Morocco was a new venture last year. UJ Sportslabs is a joint venture with a university. We've got 2 guys in America, 2 locations in America, and we've also got Belgium. To date, we've tested in over 105 countries. Some of those countries are North Korea, Afghanistan, so we've been in some very difficult locations, a bit like Richard has. I think in 2015 so far we've tested 460 artificial pitches and 560 products tested in the laboratory. So going back to the process, what happens and why do we do it? We test in the laboratory to ensure the product is up to the standard, and then you can move forward to the installation. During the installation we carry out key stage inspections. The purpose of the key stage inspections is to ensure that the layer is ready to move on to the next level and you have security. We then carry out the final installation, the final field test, and you then receive the certification from the governing body. So this is Robbie's presentation that I'm going to try and cover. Bear with me because I'm not too familiar with it. So in the pitch construction, what are the process steps? So strategic definition, then we have preparation and brief, conceptual design, technical design, procurement, and construction, and also the handover with some snagging. So simplified, do you have a case for a pitch, and what is that case? Do you have enough people for that pitch? What sports? And with your artificial pitch, what standards do you require? As mentioned, when you install a football pitch, sometimes for funding streams, you might have to look at other sports. However, if you're solely soccer, then sometimes you can go to the FAI standard or the FIFA standard. So how long does it take to build a pitch, and what's the process, the project timeline? Most projects are around about 12 months. This does differ depending on financial implications, some of the weather problems. Again, in different geographical locations, that can be a bigger issue than others. Some countries, such as Morocco that Richard mentioned, there's a lot of importation problems. What permissions do you need? Is it a refurbishment, floodlighting, high fencing? All these things you have to consider. The drainage network, as Richard mentioned earlier on as well. And do you need help with this process? So if you believe that you can go forward and have the confidence to deliver the project, by all means go ahead, but there's so many different stages in the process and in a project that are very complicated, from planning through to the key stage inspections, knowing what's right, knowing what's wrong, keeping on top of the contractor, making sure the contractor's delivering what he said he would deliver. This is very important, and you have to be very confident in what you're doing to deliver the final surface of a very high standard. Do I require funding? This was Robbie's bit. Obviously I wouldn't be sitting here if not. So, I want a FIFA quality World Rugby GA compliant pitch. Project outcomes. What's in your specification? What are you wanting from the pitch? I want my team to perform better. I don't want any games cancelled. So obviously in Scotland when I left today, there was a lot of social media about natural pitches. The games were cancelled, there was pitch inspections. Is that a big problem of yours? Is this something you want to improve in the future? If so, look at the drainage capacity of the pitch. So know exactly what you want in your project is the key. How much time do you want the pitch to be exposed to play? Is that product up to standard? Has that product got previous history? And then the preparation and the brief. Again, you can see all these developer risk register. Define the roles and responsibilities of the project team. My managing director, Eric O'Donnell, believes in a pitch champion, and for me, I completely agree with him. A pitch champion is someone that is the point of contact between a consultant, a contractor, and the club. Sometimes if you have 5 or 6 people communicating with the consultant and the contractor, this can cause time delays. So if you have one person that is communication between each party, it does improve the process and also the delivery of the project. Understand the risks all the way through the project. Risks aren't just from the design, they're right the way through the project. Another thing about a consultant and having someone accountable is that you can go back to that point and you can say, you approved that section to go forward. And this is very important, particularly in synthetic turf construction. It's very good to blame someone like ourselves. Again, what kind of pitch do you want? Every pitch has different dimensions, different requirements. This is something I'll talk about a bit later. You know, FIFA have just updated their dimensions of their pitches, so this is something that will implicate project design from start to finish, the cost, and also certification at the end. Just a quick question for everyone: has anyone heard of 4G? 4G surfaces. Okay, so 4G surfaces are a bit of a myth. They're a non-full system. 3G is where we are with surfaces that are certified. So if you have a contract that tries to sell you a 4G surface, the reality is that 4G surface hasn't got a certification. So don't get caught in the trap of getting sold 4G, 5G or 6G. I've actually seen a project, a 5-a-side project in Scotland where they bought 5G turf. It doesn't exist. How much will the project cost? So be realistic at the start. You don't get surprises further down the line. You're looking at around about €500,000. What infrastructure do I need in place for this type of pitch? Do you have the power, the site access, the car parking? Do you have the people to deliver it? Also, the deliveries after the project. What do you need from the club? Is it going to be used for meetings? Is it going to be used just for solely football, changing rooms, etc.? This presentation will be available for everyone after. So design the specification for the works. This is probably the most important part, because when you design a specification, you put it out to tender and everyone has to come back with the same requirements. If you don't, then you have a minefield of different tenders. You cannot compare and contrast. And as Richard mentioned, going to a lawyer or using someone like a solicitor or someone impartial is very important, but make sure the contractors are all tendering for the same project. The detailed drawings are very important. Employ someone, if you can't do it yourself, to produce the detailed drawings and ensure that the contractor gets a copy of these in the tender pack. So planning application. There's a project in Scotland, and there's many in Ireland as well, where without planning the project doesn't move forward. There's currently a project that I'm involved in Scotland where I warned them about the planning application. It's been delayed for 2 years now. They have the funding, but they don't have the planning application. This is a problem with a new build. It's a school in Fort William in Scotland, where I'm from, and they're sitting waiting to put this indoor pitch down, and they can't because of planning. So be aware of these things that do come up and bite you. Tendies are tricky old business. Having engaged the services of a consultant who has written a performance specification, they are more likely to achieve a like-for-like quote for the quotes without any uncertainty. This is going back to make sure the tender pack is very detailed for the contractor. Ensure the contractor knows what he is pricing. You will effectively get a better surface or a better product at the end of it, because they have priced and they've got to deliver. Robbie's mentioned here that tendering on private builds is less onerous and much more preferred by himself. Less complications. Tendering on public contracts, government and local authorities is a bit like a legal minefield. This is where a consultant can really help you. They know how to work through the project and they know what's coming up at each stage of the project. The object of tendering is to be clear and transparent so that the best tender wins and ultimately, hopefully, the best quality pitch is built. This can only be done with the production of clear design specifications and pricing documents. Who is suitable to invite for tender and what should you look out for? I think the most important thing for me, and Richard Hayden mentioned it earlier on, is making sure that the company has a history. They have some examples. Go out and visit those examples. If they say they have a surface, go and have a look at that surface. Is that surface what you want, or is it not what you want? So construction. Just open it up. So for me here, the most important part of construction is making sure that you have key stage inspections, and that gives you the quality assurance to move on. Key stage inspections really allow you to move on having complete comfort in that level or that layer in construction is designed and it's installed to the level it should be. Key stage inspections I'll talk about in a little bit more detail, but also consider the health and safety aspect of it. There was a project in England where a German company wanted to install, and they brought their German installers over, and they planned to live on site. They were not allowed to live on site, and the project was delayed for 3 months. So these are simple things that really affect a project. Okay, handover. Handover is a very big part of a project, and the reason being is because if defects are not covered and you don't check the surface, give it a certification to a governing body, then you don't know that product is what you have tendered for. So ensure that you cover certifications such as field testing or a meeting on site with the deliverer or the installer, just to ensure you get what you've paid for. This can be covered by a consultant, and this is what you pay a consultant for. But if you don't take a consultant on board, make sure you know exactly what you're looking for, and it's delivered exactly how you want it to be delivered in your product design specification. Again, there's some points here that Robbie's noted down about health and safety regulations and also standard building contracts. Defects and liability period. If you have a warranty for your pitch, ensure that you operate within that warranty restrictions. Things like maintenance, if you carry out the wrong maintenance on the pitch, you can effectively null and void your warranty in your pitch. Ensure that you work within the operations manual delivered by the licensee or the manufacturer and installer. So key stage inspections. These are extremely important, and the reason being is because, as I mentioned, you can move on to the next stage. There's been many pitches that have been installed where you can see after a period of time you have deviations on the surface, undulations, or for example a drainage channel's sunk, or there's no infiltration on the pitch, so you effectively have ponding on the pitch. You have rubber migration where the water runs the rubber into the corner. This is because these key stage inspections have not been carried out. So whether you go forward with the project yourself or employ a consultant like ourselves, make sure you have these carried out and you have comfort and you have accountability. So the first one is Prima. Prima is checking your base is stable. There's compaction, there's no problems like mines underneath the surface, which was a problem in Carluke in Scotland. They built on top of a mine, it sank when they had the JCB on top. Checking the surface level is even, the slope planarity checks. A lot of governing bodies and certifications require specific slopes on your pitch, like a 1 in 100 fall or a 1% maximum. If you don't check that and you get to the end, you effectively won't get a certification. So ensure you know these are there and they are delivered. As I mentioned, infiltration. Stone depth is quite important as well. If they specify 300 millimeters of type 1 modified type 1 stone, check the depth. You can do that yourself or get a consultant to do it. And always ask the experts for advice. Ensure you don't move forward without knowing exactly the surface is installed to the right level. So as I mentioned earlier on, Sportslabs were founded by chartered civil engineers. We pride ourselves in integrity in construction, quality and control. This is a Prima device. As I mentioned, it's a stability check. You can also carry out a DCP, which is a dynamic cone pentometer. It does measure your CBR assessment, the DCP, and essentially we were looking for stability to ensure the surface is ready to move to the next level. Infiltration, you can see the picture at the bottom. This is a problem with a pitch. After a period of time, the infiltration is failed. And also slope and planarity here, you can see there's a straight edge assessment test. Very, very simple, taken from road construction. A 3 metre straight edge is drawn across a surface, and usually the standard is 10 millimetres. A 10 millimetre deviation is a pass, 11 millimetres is a fail. So, quickly moving on to FIFA updates. So this year the new FIFA manual was released. So if you see a FIFA certification for a pitch, then it all comes back to the FIFA manual. We test in the lab to the FIFA manual and also on site to the FIFA manual. As you can see here, it was delivered on the 31st of October 2015. Released the 22nd, delivered on the 31st by FIFA. The FIFA marketing division covers this. So I'm just going to briefly talk about the changes and what they mean. So first of all, there's a terminology change. Then there's a recertification period on the pitch. How does it affect you? The tolerance are changing as well. The visual inspections intensify, and the dimensions have changed, as already mentioned. The first thing to mention is that FIFA are moving forward, like World Rugby, where there's no certificates released anymore. They're going to be on the website. So if you have a pitch and you want to see when that pitch needs recertified, or if it needs certified, you can go on and you can actually look down the country, the licensee, the manufacturer. You can see how many pitches are in Ireland, you can see how many pitches are in England, and you can also see how many pitches that licensee has delivered in that country. So if you have someone trying to sell you a FIFA pitch, check they have as many pitches as they say they do on the FIFA website. So what is FIFA quality? FIFA quality is originally the FIFA 1 star. FIFA 1 star was community-based pitches, and FIFA quality is designed for community-based pitches as well. There's a little extract here from the FIFA manual. FIFA Quality Pro. FIFA Quality Pro was originally 2 star, but now it's Quality Pro. The Quality Pro is stadium use, so it's high level use. There was a problem with the 1 and 2 star previously where they had a lot of crossover, where people wanted 1 and 2 star. You had community-based pitches like schools, and they were 2 star. They don't require 2 star. But everyone wanted the 2 star, so 1 star was left behind. What they're trying to do now, FIFA, is segregate between Quality and Quality Pro, where Quality Pro is really stadium use, high level use. Okay, the implications. Usually you could test, in the past you could test FIFA Quality Pro or FIFA 2 star. It was 1 year certification period, had to be checked annually. FIFA Quality or 1 star was every 4 years. What happened was if the FIFA 2 star failed or you didn't test it, it would then downgrade to 1 star for another 3 years automatically. That doesn't happen now, and that won't happen now. You have to then check it again for FIFA 1 star or FIFA quality. Also, FIFA 1 star was originally 4 years. FIFA quality now, or FIFA 1 star, is now 3 years. This is quite a big one for contractors, and also if you have a pitch and you want certification. The previous dimensions of a FIFA pitch were 90 by 120 and 45 by 90. This is the same for FIFA quality, i.e. community-based pitches, schools. FIFA Quality Pro has now intensified their tolerances are tighter. So you have 100 to 110 metres in length and 64 to 75 in width. FIFA have also increased the visual checks that we do as a laboratory. So when we go and check a surface, we did a lot of performance criteria checks. Now there's a lot of visual checks, such as the goalposts, the seams, irrigation sprinklers. All these have to be mentioned in the FIFA report if there's any problems. So if you do have these problems on the pitch, in the past they might not have been picked up by a laboratory or mentioned in the FIFA report. Now they will be, and FIFA might follow up with it. So just a quick background to the new manual and the tests and what they are. The picture here is what we call ListSport XL. It's an advanced wear apparatus, and what this does is it simulates wear on the pitch. So when you see a pitch that's got a warranty of 8 or 9 years, usually a licensee or a manufacturer of the surface is checked with this type of equipment to look at the wear, and they say approximately one cycle was 1 hour's use. This new equipment there's no research to suggest what an hour's use is. However, that will come in the future. There's also a heat classification test, not so much for Ireland, but for maybe places like Morocco or South Africa or I suppose in the Middle East. The temperature of the rubber can reach 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. So there's now a heat classification test for that. There's also a splash classification test. So if you watch a 3G pitch, for example, on Sky Sports, you can see Cliftonville, you could probably see Maidstone in England, some of the pitches in Scotland, like Hamilton as well. You can see the rubber splashes off the surface, and when, for example, Sky relay that back on the TV, it exaggerates it, but there still is that splash. And now we do a splash characteristic test to see how the surface performs. There's also checks on the yarn, the infill depth, and also the free pile. Free pile is the amount of yarn that sits above the infill. Infill depth is the amount of rubber that sits in the system. This is probably the easiest check to do as a pitch owner or contractor. It doesn't cost very much, and it's a very simple thing to check. So if you have a pitch, what do you need for FIFA? What are the regulations maintenance wise? You need a tractor and quad by law, by the FIFA certification. You also need a brush or drag mat, top-up info on site, you need maintenance log, an operations manual, and a designated operator with official training from the licensee. This is all a must in the new FIFA manual. It was regulated before, but they're really pushing this now. So if you have a pitch you're going to install, make sure you have these on site. Not just for the certification, to ensure that you can take the pitch and do what you want with the pitch. If the pitch is too hard, you can make it softer. If the pitch is too soft, or the fibres need brushed, you can get the fibres back vertical. So I'm just going to fly through World Rugby. It's not so... So, maintenance, the truth with artificial turf. A lot of people think artificial turf doesn't need maintenance. It does need maintenance, and it does need a lot of maintenance. Okay, maybe not the same volume as natural, but please put in your project costs maintenance equipment, if it's not delivered by the licensee, and also time and effort for someone to actually do the maintenance. Look after your pitch, because if you don't, then your pitch could lose its certification within 2 or 3 years, or become unplayable within 2 and 3 years. I think at the moment the longest standing FIFA pitch is 8 years, but that's to the highest FIFA quality. So if you want to get out the pitch, you really have to look after it. So part of FIFA as well is you need to have a ball roll on site. If you have a pitch, you have to have a ball roll on site so you can check if that pitch is performing the way it should be. The picture on the left where you can see it's quite small is flat fibre. It's very common for a pitch for the fibre to go flat, and what essentially happens is the ball rolls further. Very similar to golf with a stint meter, you can check to see how your pitch is performing. Now this is quite a common failure with a recertification of a pitch, so if you know the pitch is going to fail, you don't have to pay someone to come and check the pitch. You can fix that pitch before you have to pay a lab to come and check it. As mentioned, the tractors, you have to have a tractor, you have to have a brush or a drag mat. A brush usually tries to get the fibre back up, a drag mat usually knocks the rubber back into position and re-levels it. So an operation maintenance manual. This is extremely important because a lot of people are maybe given it but don't use it. This tells you how to look after your pitch and ensure that your pitch is within the warranty or within the right maintenance procedures for that licensee's product. Every product is different, not every artificial pitch is the same. So that means you have to give aftercare and maintenance different with each product. Be aware that when you get a pitch delivered, this should be supplied by the licensee. If you don't have it, ask for it. They, by law, if they're a preferred producer, have to give it. So, a named operator. So, just before I start talking about named operators, it's important to note that you can actually have a maintenance contract. There's many maintenance companies that go out and do your maintenance for you. If you don't, ensure that you have someone that's given the training and they know what they're doing. This person has to be named in the FIFA report or the documents back to FIFA. It's very important that this person is given the training and knows exactly what they're doing. If you don't get given the training from the the licensee or the contractor, then you can always ask a specialist consultant or a company like ourselves. That information comes free, so please, by all means, ask. So, maintenance log, what is it? Why do we use it? A maintenance log is there on the pitch to ensure that you know what maintenance has been done on that pitch. So if you have problems or defects with the pitch, you can go back to the contractor or the installer and say, that's the maintenance I've done. Is there something I've done wrong? Have I done it right? What should I be doing? Have I not done enough? It also allows us, if we come out and look at your pitch and it's not to the required standard, we can say, hey, what have you done? We can give you that information on site and we can tell you what to do to get that pitch to the right standard. So this is another problem with artificial pitches, that after a pitch is installed, you get rubber migration. The rubber moves across the pitch into certain areas on the pitch. And for example, a penalty spot, if you go and check a penalty spot on an artificial pitch, usually there's a deviation at that spot because there's not enough rubber. Have some top-up material on site. Make sure that you're given that as part of the project and that you can go and fill that penalty spot up before a game or a corner flag or any area of high use, such as where the goalkeeper stands. So these are some examples. This is someone that's basically taken a pallet, put some fencing on the bottom of the pallet and used that as a drag mat. A drag mat is usually a rubber dimple mat. This is not the way to do it. You get fibres caught in it, it gets pulled out the surface, it can affect your seams. And you can see someone's created their own tining or metal brushing system here. It didn't work, didn't help the pitch, but they were avoiding cost. The bottom right hand picture you can see of the yarn, that shows wear of yarn before and after, and on the right hand side is a picture. If you don't look after your pitch, that will happen quicker. Some fibres are designed to wear like that and some aren't, but as you can see at the bottom of that fibre is worn right to the bottom, so that tells me that the right maintenance or care hasn't been given on that pitch. So here's some better examples. Some equipment, some common equipment that's used around pitches in the UK. Make sure you've got the equipment. It's a very small percentage cost in the project total cost. So get as long as you can out the pitch. So just a small diagram to demonstrate how you should be brushing a pitch, or if you have a pitch, the way you should be doing it. Work from one side to the other, overlap, ensure that you cover the whole pitch. Also change the direction you're travelling in. If you can, try to move against the direction of the fibre, because the fibre will always fall with its memory. Your aim is to get that fibre back up. So frequency, how long, how often should you be doing it? I think the most important thing to note is that with every pitch it's different. So ensure that you know the product, know how many hours use that field has, and then deliver it based on those figures. We can help you with that, or sometimes a governing body can help you with that. So this is a little bit more advanced. This document will be available for everyone at the end, so you can have a look at it, see how much time you have to put aside for maintenance on the pitch. Are you doing the maintenance correctly? Going back to the picture with the flat fibre, this is one of the most common problems, but not the only problem. If your fibre is sitting like that, you're not doing the maintenance properly. It could be because you need to add more rubber to the pitch. It could be because there's not enough weight in the apparatus. It could be that the apparatus isn't even touching the surface, yet the maintenance operator is driving the tractor. These things, you need to ask yourself, is it working? What are you trying to achieve from the maintenance? The picture on the right, vertical fibre. From an artificial pitch, that's what you're looking for. You want the fibres to stand vertically. So you can also carry out your own testing on the pitch. You know, labs come out and do testing and they charge. Obviously we charge, we're here. But you can carry out your own testing, simple testing that allows you to assess what standard your pitch is at. Allows you to monitor the pitch, change your pitch, set up the pitch how you want. And stay within your warranty is a very big point as well. What can you test for with a very reduced cost? Ball roll, ball rebound, infill depth, free pile, straight edge. So ball rolls basically rolling a ball down a ramp and measuring how far that ball rolls. Ball rebound is how far it rebounds. It's as simple as that. It's calibrated on concrete. Very simple procedure. Infill depth, how much rubber's in the pitch? Is there enough? If you look at infill depths, you might have, for example, 25mm around your goalkeeper area or your penalty spot, and in the centre of the pitch you might have 40mm. If you have the wrong infill depths, the fibre will not last, and the consistency across the pitch will be different. So straight edge is just a simple planarity check. We're looking at this to make sure the surface is completely flat. This is important. If it's not, the surface will fail. Here we go. This is a ball roll. Why do we do it? As mentioned, we're there to check that the surface is giving enough friction to the ball. This controls the speed of play. So make sure that your team benefit from the surface. What speed do you want the play at? Ball rebound. Simple ball rebound apparatus. Rebounding the ball on the pitch. So I'll nip back. It's dropped from a magnet. Acoustically, we measure the first rebound and the second rebound. An infill depth probe. All we're doing here is measuring how deep the infill is. A prism. A prism is used to see how much free fibre there is. If the fibre is flat, you won't get anything in the prism. So this will also tell you if you have problems with the fibre lying flat. It's very simple, it's cheap, and it's very easy to do. A fieldman or loadman is a type of a test equipment that will give you how hard the surface is compared to concrete, how much it deforms under your foot, and how much energy is given back to the player. You're looking at a lot of money for this piece of equipment. It's not what we use something that's a lot more accurate. But if you want to buy this equipment, this will tell you, how hard the surface is. It's an option if you have it in the project. So, maintenance kit. Make sure your operator on site has a maintenance kit to do the checks. Make sure you can get the most out of your pitch. So, testing frequency. How often should you do it? There is limitations. How often can the operator be at the pitch? But do it as many times as you can. I suppose maximum. You're looking at this table here. It'll allow you to look at the pitch and see what you need to do in certain areas of the pitch. These conditions will change with time, so ensure that you check at different periods of the year. So what do I do? If the ball rolls long, what do I do? I increase the brushing, I do decompaction, I try and get the fibres up. If the ball rolls short, what do I do? I top up the infill to reduce the free fibre. If there's a high ball rebound, what do? I do decompaction. I increase the brushing to try and allow or get the ball rebound down. If the ball rebounds too low, top up the infill, allow compaction, don't do tining, don't do invasive maintenance. Low infill depths. What do you do with low infill depths? You increase the amount of rubber, you do a top up, or do decompaction as well. High free pile, you go decompaction again. So this is a very powerful picture. This was taken from Aston University. It was one of our projects. It was taken from Google Earth. And what this is showing you, a full-size pitch. You have 3 7-a-side pitches. Now the black areas you can see is rubber migration. Sometimes you have fencing down the 7-a-side pitches. But what this is telling me is that where these black areas is, there's probably about another 10mm of rubber or 5mm of rubber compared to the other areas. So the maintenance is not getting carried out properly on that pitch, because if it did, there would be uniform infill across the pitch. This is very common, and another thing to watch out for with your pitches, high wear areas such as the entrance, the goalkeeper area. Make sure you change your pitches about. Don't always allow them to play on the 7-a-side pitch beside the entrance. You'll get longer out the pitch if you do that. This is a short diagram, or an addition to the diagram, that shows where the play is within these areas. The red areas is high usage with the 7-a-side pitches. So just a few pictures there that show some bad examples of pitches. We've got infiltration problems, seam failures. You can see the penalty spot is also damaged. The pitch at the bottom right, this is a problem, an infiltration problem with the pitch. The rubber's migrated to the corner. You can see that it doesn't look very good, it doesn't play very well, and nobody wants that kind of pitch. So, simple comments straight out the FIFA manual. If you want a better surface for longer, factor in maintenance at the beginning of your overall plan as per the FIFA regulations. You have regulations, you have to provide the maintenance equipment or a contract. Failure to undertake the adequate maintenance will also reduce the period of time a field may satisfy the requirements of the FIFA quality programme. So this is just a snapshot of some of the services we offer, and also some information if you're installing a pitch, what to look out for, and also how to get the most out of your pitch. We're obviously available for any questions, and if you need any help with any part of your project, please ask. These simple questions can save so much time, effort and money. My apologies for Robbie not being here today, but I'm sure he'll make the next one. Thank you very much.